the breath, the physical sensations of the breath. And there are a number of variations of the breath practice that we'll be going through in this retreat. The first one is the full body breath practice. And that's the one we really just did in the last meditation, is just noticing sensations of the breath anywhere in the body. Any sensations connected with the breathing. And for this one, you can move your attention around. You don't have to stay in one place. Anywhere where you notice sensations connected with the breathing. And this is particularly good for working with relaxation. So this is the practice you're going to be doing tomorrow morning before breakfast. And also this is the practice we're going to be doing every evening to finish the day. So that's the full body breath practice, very good for relaxation. The other variation of breath practice that we're going to be focusing on for the rest of tomorrow is focusing on the area of the abdomen, focusing on the rising and lowering of the abdomen as you breathe. Quite a large area of focus. So this is particularly good for improving stability of attention. So we're going to be looking at that most of tomorrow. The third variation of the breath practice is the focus at the entrance of the nostrils. So we're going to look at that the day after tomorrow. So this practice, of course, we're bringing the attention up, and it's a much smaller object. So this, therefore, is very helpful for improving clarity of attention. So we're going to be working with the breath for the next few days. Then we're going to work with the mind. And that is to simply observe our own mind and whatever's coming up in our mind. So observing thoughts and emotions and memories and so forth, simply observing them as they arise and pass. Many people find this much more challenging than focusing on the breath for two reasons. One, the mind is a much more subtle object. That the breath is some physical, tangible object, the mind is not. So a little bit more difficult to focus on. And also, the other reason many people find this quite difficult, this practice, is we don't have a habit of observing our thoughts, emotions and memories and so forth. Our strong habit now, of course, is if a thought, emotion or memory comes up, we grab hold of it and off we go in our story. And of course, if our thought, emotion and memory is something unpleasant and we don't know how to deal with it, the other thing we do is we try and stuff it down, suppress it. So that is our strong habit now, either following them or suppressing them. We don't have a habit of simply watching them as they rise and pass. But this practice has enormous benefit. We'll look at a lot of those benefits in a couple of days' time, and we'll spend a whole day working with this practice on day 4. Because with this practice, we'll really become the masters of our mind instead of being the slaves of our mind. Now, often we're tormented by our own mind. We're tormented by our thoughts, emotions and memories. We've made our mind our worst enemy. But with this practice, we can make our mind our best friend, be masters of our mind. The third object we're going to use is awareness, or sometimes this is called shamatha with no object. And many people find this even more challenging than observing the mind. Not because it's complicated, but because it's too simple. Because this practice basically involves doing nothing. We don't know how to do nothing. We always want to do something. So often when this practice is explained, people go, yeah, but what do I have to do? Doing is the problem. Stop doing and you're in the practice. Because here in the breath practice, we are aware of the breath. Here, we are aware of the mind. In this practice, we're simply turning awareness upon itself. We're just knowing that we're aware. And because it is so simple, people find it very difficult, challenging. But again, this has enormous benefits in our modern society. Because if we can simply rest in awareness, we can rest. What we notice is that our awareness, our mind is completely still and completely open and spacious. And if we can rest in that state, we can make that our default mode in daily life. And also by simply resting in awareness, we can intuitively get an insight into the nature of our mind, which of course is Vipassana practice. So this is very much a bridge into the Vipassana practice as well. So enormous benefits. Day 5, we're going to spend a whole day on this practice. Then on day 6, we're going to combine these two practices by resting in that stillness and then observing the mind. So we're going to, I call it stillness in motion. So we're going to combine those two on day 6. So these are the 3 objects that we're going to use in this Shamatha retreat. Any questions about qualities or objects before we sort of finish for the day? Yeah.
Sort of a general question. I heard him talk about, I think it's the 8 or 9 jhanas. Is that related? Is Shamatha one of them, or?
Well, maybe you're mixing two things. There are 4 jhanas. And then there are 9 stages to Shamatha.
Okay,
so which one are you?
Is the 4 jhana? The question is the 4 jhanas.
Right.
Related.
So remember, Shamatha is a concentration practice, and we can develop many levels of concentration. And often in Buddhism, they talk about 9 levels. The first is Shamatha. Then we have 4 levels of jhana, so that makes 5. Above that, we have 4 levels of what are called samapatis, absorptions in English. So they're the 9 levels. The reason, of course, we're developing this concentration in Buddhism is as a basis for Vipassana. So the Shamatha and any of the 4 jhanas, very good. The 4 higher ones, samapatis, not so good. Because there, your mind is too absorbed to be able to investigate the nature of reality. So they're not a suitable basis for Vipassana. So in the Mahayana Buddhist traditions, they talk about Shamatha as the concentration practice. In the Theravada traditions, they talk about these 4 jhanas. But they're all concentration. Any one of those are good for Vipassana. Okay. What I'd like to do now is introduce this full body breath practice, because you're going to be doing this tomorrow morning before breakfast, and also we'll do it every evening as the last practice of the day. So to introduce this practice, I'd like to read from this book I mentioned, Attention Revolution by Alan Wallace, and this is on page 17. And he says the following: be at ease, be still, be vigilant. So be at ease means relax, be still means don't move your body, be vigilant means to keep the back straight. These 3 qualities of the body are to be maintained throughout all meditation sessions. Once you have settled your body with these 3 qualities, take 3 slow, gentle, deep breaths, exactly like we did in the meditation just now. Breathing in and out through the nostrils. Let your awareness permeate your entire body as you do so, noting any sensations that arise in relation to the breath. Luxuriate in these breaths as if you were receiving a gentle massage from within. Now settle your respiration in its natural flow. Continue breathing through your nostrils, noting the sensations of the breath wherever they arise within your body. Observe the entire course of each in and out breath, noting whether it is long or short, deep or shallow, slow or fast. Don't impose any rhythm on your breathing, means again don't force your breath or control your breath in any way. Attend closely to the breath, but without willfully influencing it in any way. Don't even prefer one kind of breath over another. And don't assume that rhythmic breathing is necessarily better than irregular breathing. Let the body breathe as if you are fast asleep, but mindfully vigilant. Thoughts are bound to arise involuntarily, and your attention may also be pulled away by noises and other stimuli from your environment. When you note that you've become distracted, instead of tightening up and forcing your attention back to the breath, simply let go of these thoughts and distractions. Especially with each out-breath, relax your body, release thoughts, and happily let your attention settle back into the body. When you see that your mind has wandered, don't get upset. Just be happy that you've noticed the distraction and gently return to the breath. Again and again, counteract the agitation and turbulence of the mind by relaxing more deeply, not by contracting your body and mind. If tension builds up in your shoulders, face or eyes, release it. With each exhalation, release involuntary thoughts as if they were dry leaves blown away by a soft breeze. Relax deeply through the entire course of the exhalation and continue to relax as the next breath flows in effortlessly like the tide. Breathe so effortlessly that you feel as if your body were being breathed by your environment. So again, with this practice, the main emphasis is on relaxation, to really relax the body, relax the mind. And if you get distracted, don't get frustrated and upset, don't tighten, just gently release that distraction and just come back to the breath. Just keep coming back to the breath very patiently, very gently. Now a little bit more about the practice, and this is on page 19. He says the following. Mindfulness of breathing is universally emphasized for those who are especially prone to compulsive thinking. As the 5th century Buddhist master Asanga comments, so now he's quoting Asanga from the 5th century, he says, if involuntary thoughts particularly dominate your behavior, then focus the mind in the mindfulness of the breath. And now back to Alan Wallace, he says, since nearly everyone living in the modern world is coping with an overload of thinking, remembering and planning, this may be just what the doctor ordered, a general prescription for soothing and healing overworked bodies and minds. So I think one of the main, for many of us, this Shamatha practice, the breath is going to be the best object. Because I think many of us in our modern society caught up in our conceptual mind, constantly thinking, even some often obsessive compulsive thinking, going round and round and round and round and round. So by focusing on the sensations of the breath, we get out of our conceptual mind into the body, so that's good. And most of our thinking is about the past and the future. And from a Buddhist perspective, if we live in the past and the future, we're just creating a lot of unhappiness. The physical sensations of the breath only happen in the present moment. So by focusing on them, we get out of our obsessive compulsive thinking and into the body, and we get out of the past and the future into the present moment. So for many of us, the breath is going to be the best object. And then he goes on to say, although Buddhism generally encourages cross-legged meditation, The Buddha encouraged his followers to practice in any of 4 postures, which are walking, standing, sitting, and lying down. Any of these postures is perfectly suitable. Not everyone living in the modern world has the same type of mind or nervous system. If you tend toward agitation, you may find lying down especially helpful for releasing the tightness and restlessness of your body and mind. But if you are more prone to laxity, or in other words, if you very easily become dull, you may simply fall asleep whenever you lie down. So it may be necessary for you to be upright when meditating. Lying down can also be very useful for meditation if you are physically tired but not yet ready for bed. In this case, you may not be able to rouse yourself to sit upright in a posture of vigilance, but the prospect of lying down for a while may be inviting. Surrender to your body's need to rest and use the supine position, so that's the Shavasana posture, lying flat on your back, to calm the mind as well. This likely will be much more refreshing and soothing than watching television or reading a newspaper. The supine posture may be your only option if you are ill, injured, or frail. It may be especially useful for meditation by those in hospitals, senior care facilities, and hospices. Mindfulness of breathing is great for preparing your mind for mental training, but it also can help you fall asleep. If you suffer from insomnia, the above method can help release tension in your body and mind when you go to bed at night. If you wake up in the middle of the night and have a hard time falling back asleep, mindfulness of breathing can help you disengage from the thoughts that flood the mind. According to recent studies, about 80% of Americans are chronically sleep deprived. So if all this practice does is help you catch up on your sleep, that's worth a good deal. So this practice, or this posture rather, of Shavasana, lying flat on your back, feet a little bit apart, arms a bit away from the body, palms facing upwards, is a valid posture for this Shamatha practice. Again, as he said, if we're the sort of person that's very tight and tense and agitated, you may find sitting upright in meditation, you can't release the tension. Then, of course, using this posture may be very good. And so you may even use this as your normal posture at home for meditating. But of course, if you're the sort of person that normally, when you lie down, you get very drowsy and sleepy, maybe not a good idea to use this as your normal meditation posture at home. You probably just fall asleep. But as he said, we can also use this posture as a way to transition into sleep. Because sometimes, you know, we've had a very busy day, a lot of things going on, and at the end of the day, we still have a lot of tension and agitation in the body. Our mind is still going round and round and round. We try to go to sleep, we're tossing, turning, we don't sleep very well. So what we can do then, of course, is when we go to bed, lie down in this posture, and then do this practice. And that means on every out-breath, release any tension in the body, releasing any thoughts in the mind, just relaxing and releasing. And then we can do that as long as we can maintain some alertness. When we get drowsy, we just mentally know my meditation is finished, and then move out of that posture into whatever posture we normally use for sleep. Also, if we wake up in the middle of the night, sometimes we wake up in the middle of the night and we have a hard time falling back to sleep, and then we're lying there going, oh, I have to sleep, I have to sleep, I have to work tomorrow, I've got to sleep, I've got to sleep. And we get agitated and we don't sleep. So if that's the case, do the same. In the Shavasana posture, releasing any tightness in the body, releasing any thoughts in the mind, and I think you'll find you'll fall asleep very quickly, and even if you don't, you'll get a lot of the benefits of sleep because you're completely relaxed. So what we're going to do each evening is we're going to do this practice. We're going to do this Shavasana practice, lying down, so we can get used to it. Now, probably you're going to find the first couple of evenings, and we're going to keep it short, we'll just do 15 minutes. Probably the first couple of evenings we do this practice, you may get very drowsy, maybe even fall asleep. Okay, that's fine. Because we're not used to it. Because normally when we lie down, it's signal to sleep, because that's usually what we do when we lie down. But what you're probably going to find after a few days is that you're going to start to associate this particular posture, the Shavasana posture, with meditation. And then you can find that you can be very relaxed and at the same time quite alert. So we're going to do this practice to finish each day. Before we sort of rearrange things a bit for that, is there any questions about this practice? Anything's not clear? Okay, so there's quite a number of us, but I think if we sort of spread out a bit, we can find enough space in the room. So what we'll probably need to do is those chairs, stack them up and put them at the back. We've got cushions here. I think some of you got yoga mats, and is there some extra yoga mats down the back?
Yes.
Yeah, so sort of find some space. You can also come out the front here. And if everyone sort of points their feet toward the back of the room, then we're all in the sort of similar position. So find some space, find a cushion. Don't lie, I wouldn't recommend lying directly on the wooden floor, but on these cushions, the mats, yoga mats, and also if you've got a couple of the small cushions, you may put 3 of those together and use that as the thing you lie on as well.